it's for the wananchi. So these are the things that we ponder about, and this is the topic on which I want to discuss. I wish to express my gratitude to the organizers of this conference, the Kenya Alliance of Residents Association, for inviting Safaricom and granting us the opportunity to address you. We are greatly humbled by this. We do not take it for granted. We recognize the work that Kara has done over the years in representing the voice of resident associations countrywide. We have noted that your contribution was also recognized by the Kenya Revenue Authority. This is no mean feat. Normally they recognize Safaricom and Kenya Breweries and yeah. And they say that your work is very important, especially around creating awareness on tax issues, specifically about rental income, so as to enhance voluntary tax compliance by landlords across the country. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very, very excited to have the chance to speak about the place of the private sector in the realization of sustainable cities and communities by the year 2030, as per Sustainability Goal number 11. The SDGs, as they are commonly referred to, build on the success of the Millennium Development Goals, commonly referred to as the MDGs. And these aim to end all forms of poverty. The new goals recognize that ending poverty must go hand in hand with strategies that build economic growth and address a range of social needs, including education, health, social protection, and job opportunities, while tackling climate change and environmental protection. All stakeholders, government, civil society, private sector, are expected to contribute to the realization of this new agenda. Goal number 11 aims to make cities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. At Safaricom, we believe that the private sector can play a crucial role in the attainment of all goals, including goal number 11. It is in our own interest as businesses to ensure our cities thrive. Because to put it simply, we cannot expect our businesses to grow if the cities and communities around us do not have access to basic services. There are various ways in which the private sector can get involved, but allow me to focus on one area that I feel can be of particular interest to all of you here. That is the area of supporting local businesses and startups. Some of you may be wondering what this has to do with sustainable cities. Allow me to explain a bit. You see, whether you're an SME or a large enterprise, one thing you require is a supply chain and a distribution chain. In Safaricom alone, we have over 115,000 M-Pesa agents. If you add to our probably 400 dealers, if you add to our 5,000 employees, if you add to our probably another 3,000 suppliers, that's a lot. I didn't add it up, but it's probably, you're looking at upwards of 150,000 families that we are supporting. And we have to be very responsible about this. And we don't take this for granted. The more people you're able to support in your supply chain, the more the community is going to be prosperous. Then you have that trickle-down effect, and everybody can raise their standards of living. Let's take the example of a dairy farmer who supplies milk, for example, to a milk processing factory. If you keep underpaying them, you as a processor, if you keep on underpaying them at the expense of short-term profit, one day the farmer will be forced to shut down. He will close his farm and shut down. And then you'll have no one to supply the milk you need for your business. As you grow, do not leave the others behind. So it brings me back to the conversation we had at the beginning of people are rebelling at being left behind in successful economies. We continue to explore partnerships that can help spur the economic growth of the country. We also believe that adoption of ICT solutions can enable businesses to become more efficient and therefore create more opportunities. And these are critical requirements for sustainable cities and communities to thrive. That is why a few months ago, Safaricom rolled out Ready Business. We have an idea called Ready Business. It's a solution. It's an IT ICT-based solution that bundles together a range of technology and advisory services, and is designed to enable small and medium enterprises to position themselves in addressing the challenges of a rapidly changing business environment. This platform seeks to empower businesses to become more competitive, more efficient, and help them to deliver better experiences for their customers through the intelligent use of technology. As I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, Safaricom is one of the few companies in the region that has integrated the SDGs in their business strategy. We just don't talk about it, we are actually doing it. We have put it in the middle of our strategy. Our integration can be summed up in one statement, that we have committed to deliver connectivity and innovative products and services that will provide unmatched solutions to meet the needs of Kenyans by enabling access through the use of technology. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of my speech, and I thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Steve Okeo, CJ.
Fellow panelists, the leadership of CARA, the various partners represented in the room here, allow me to start by greeting you all. Good morning. Good morning. I will only start by probably apologizing. My executive director, Dr. John Close, was to be here as late of yesterday evening by 5. He had confirmed he's coming here, but an important event occurred, so I'm here on a very big capacity. Kindly bear the apologies of Dr. Close, who would make it here. As the United Nations agency responsible for human settlement, as the moderators adequately put it very correctly, so what is our role in the sustainable development as an agency? And they narrowed it down that what is the role of Kenyan people in the realization of sustainable development? What is the role of Kenyans? I don't know why Dr. Close sent me here, because I'm a Kenyan, and that is what we're talking about. So we are talking about SDG number 11. SDG number 11 is basically talking of cities that are inclusive, cities that are safe, cities that are resilient, cities that are sustainable. That is the SDG number 11 that was passed last year, and we just left Habitat 3 in Quito last month to reinforce some of these development goals for the SDGs 2030. When we look at our cities, what are the realities? And I'm impressed that almost all the speakers who have stood here have echoed in one way or the other. There's the growth of cities every day. Population grows every other day in our cities. Do we take that as a challenge, or is it an opportunity? I'm impressed that the development partners and Safaricom has echoed to that we are not, that is not a disadvantage. That is an opportunity. How do we tap in the growing cities in terms of numbers, in terms of, because the space, the land space is not increasing, but the people keeps on coming in. Do we tell them to go back to the counties? And I think that is what the Kenya is doing by telling people to move up to the counties. That is okay, but even the counties will come a time that they're also developing. Where will we tell them to move to? In other words, the population is everywhere is starting to be a city. It depends on how you define what a city is. In Kenya, they're saying we have 3 cities currently. We are going to have more in the next 10 years. Excuse the current leadership of the counties. This was just testing ground, and everybody did get it right. So don't be very judgmental on them. The challenges of the cities, what do? We want to take that as an opportunity for an incubation of innovations. What are the best practices that we can be able to do to make our cities, even as they grow, to be able to be resilient, to be able to be safe, to be able to provide services that we need. And that is the agenda of the UN Habitat globally. We are based here in Gigiri, and this is where we are, and therefore our first stop should be Kenya, and we will be very glad to do that. The population of the people living in cities are growing every other day. Trust me, they are going to stop. By the end of this year, after people have done exams in the rural villages where we come from, everybody's coming to Nairobi. Yesterday when I live somewhere along Gong Road, just closer to Kara's offices, from the National Library to the city roundabout, it took me like 1 hour yesterday evening. Because of the traffic, it took me like 1 hour. The cops in the city center were very efficient, so we moved pretty fast. But by the library to the roundabout, It took me 1.5 hours plus. That place, if you're walking, should take you less than 10 minutes, if you're walking. So if you're in a car, so you remember the type of congestion that we have in our cities, what are we able to do? It's not going to change soon unless we diversify our thinking and see how can we make our cities livable. But one thing that I learned in that 1.5 hours that I sat there is the resilience of Kenyans. Kenyans were moving pretty fast. I don't know whether there were no vehicles in town, or the matatu might have hiked fares, or Kenyans just decided to demonstrate that we can do it. People are moving in large masses, they were rained on, they don't care, they are moving in a very, and I think they were going, if not Kangware, Kibera, this other side, and that touched my heart, that if we can take it like that, whatever we want in this country, nobody can stop us. Who can do that? Nobody. These people were rained on, they were so focused, making stories, moving. I didn't realize somebody's tribe, I didn't know the political party or religion. I just saw Kenyans walking very energetic in all rains. And if we can take that energy and to move forward, trust me, nobody will ever stop us. I'm impressed that through Kara, there's policies that are already being drafted. These policies must be enacted that are friendly enough. They should be able to respond to the challenges of the people that we have, both at the county levels and at the national level. So that is the starting point. We also need to have regional development plans. In terms of our development, we need to think of the plans for Nairobi that we have today are for the 1960s, if you don't know. We need to have very futuristic plans. Nairobi, we have been found time back, where we can still do it. But the cities that are coming up, we can't afford to be left behind. We need to have plans that are looking at 2070, if not 2100, so that the plans that we have are very elaborate and can be able to accommodate us and to make our cities livable. There's need for lobbying and networking. Some of these things, doing them as a single organization, as an individual, is good enough. You can go fast. But if you want to go far, we need to join our synergies. We need to work together. What does the United Nations say? What does the private sector say? What are the residents of Nairobi, where we all belong, say? So that we, when we join hands like this, then moving together becomes very easy. United Nations will now engage their partners. The local parties will join their partners, and we move together as a team to make sure that these things are sustainable and everybody else is involved. There is need for serious information sharing. There is need for campaigns. There is need to let the people that it is not business as usual. I move, where I live is not where, I used to live in Ngumo, then recently I moved to Ngongro. The water bill in Ngumo is, I didn't see anything more than 1,000 per month. Where I live today, and there we are living as a big family. Now I moved alone with my wife and my 2 children. The bill is about 4,000, 5,000. I'm wondering, what is the problem? There we were many. I've never seen things like this. What I did was to share with them what we used to pay then. And then we used to be big family, and therefore the water bill should be many. My house now is closed, everybody's out. So thank you very much. Kenyans, that's what we can do, and it is workable, it is doable, with the likes of Kara taking the lead, the good private partners being here, the international agency like the United Nations here in Nairobi. We are able to join hands and just to see that we make our cities livable, resilient, and safe for all of us. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sijeni, for that brief and concise recount of how we can all make our cities sustainable from the point of view of the UN Habitat. And if all of us working through information sharing and participation, taking part in such forums and events that seek to empower us and give us the ability to make our cities sustainable, then we will achieve the goals that we have for ourselves. Dr. Hawker will be talking about the place of research institutions in building sustainable cities. Dr. Hawker, carry on.
Good morning, everyone. I will start by saying that KIPRA is just an autonomous research institution. We focus mainly in carrying out research and public analysis, focusing on advising the government, the stakeholders, and the private sector. The focus on goal 11, that is making cities and human settlements safe, resilient, and sustainable. We are looking at different dimensions, things to do with housing, and what I want to say is that I'll just want to document the current status. Housing in Kenya is inadequate, it is not affordable to many. Many people are not able to own their houses. It is expensive, and then there is the issue of slums and the squatter settlements. So what is the government doing about that? The government is trying now to partner up with the private sector to ensure that there is now more expansion of construction of houses and also improve the slum upgrading. On to my second point, I'll focus on the basic services. We expect that in the urban areas, people have to get some certain services such as water and electricity. For example, electricity in Kenya, we are now at 56, around 56 to 58% in terms of connection. The government is doing a lot to enhance that. And the other day, almost like some few months ago, I was able to see President Uhuru even lighting up the semi-permanent houses, and I was shocked. So I was wondering, what is the priority? Is it housing first, or is it electricity? But all of them are going hand in hand, and I thought that was a good indication for the government. And onto electricity access, the government also plans to increase access rates to about 70% in 2017, and universal access at 100%, that is at 2020. I will also focus on the issue of roads. We all see what we are having currently in terms of the status of roads. Our road networks are kind of expanding, but we have the other aspect of the congestion. So what is the government trying to do? Yes, we have a good road network, but the government is trying to construct new roads, trying to upgrade or rehabilitate some of the roads, and also trying to improve the traffic flows. So my previous speaker was able to show how the congestion has taken a very tall impact in the country, but they are trying to decongest the area around Adams Arcade to that area around Gong Road. So I believe by the end of the project, the decongestion will ease up. And then focusing on other elements of transport, we see that the SGR, in terms of railway, the government has done a lot. Right now we're at 80% in terms of the completion of the railway. That is the first phase. And we expect that through this implementation of this project, people will be able to transport goods and services, move from point A to point B. And we expect that the government is going to upgrade these other railway stations like the Makadara Airport, Imaradaima, the Jomo Kenyatta Commuter Railway, and the like. Also focusing on airports, we have seen what the government is doing. When you're going to the airport, we have seen completion of the screening yard and the security area. So that is a plus to the government, and we expect that the government will also try to improve the airports. Here, they have highlighted 5 airports they want to improve: the Lodwar, Embu, and the Nanyuki airstrips, and I think that is a good way of enhancing our transport system. Not forgetting the road network, there's that other element of the non-motorized transport, where the government now these days, they're ensuring that they integrate the other people who are vulnerable. So focusing on the seaports, the government is also trying to do a lot in terms of seaports. Currently, we are seeing more cargoes being cleared out, and we are reducing the cost of cargo-related charges. The government is planning to build more ports, like the Lamu megaports, the Kisumu port, and the like. When we talk about challenges facing the cities and communities, we also focus on the aspects of air quality, aspects of water quality, and aspects of waste management. So without you concentrating on these elements, we are going to see more deaths, more disasters, and the like. So what we need to seriously focus is on the waste management. We are trying to focus more on air pollution. We are doing well. We are doing well on the water issues, but the issues of the waste management, we are lacking behind, and we need to pull up our socks on that. So what is the role of research? That was the focus of the topic today. And we want to say that without research, you cannot be able to create the know-how. So research helps us to identify what are the challenges, what are the problems facing the cities and the communities, how do we solve these problems, and how do we now make the right decisions on how to manage our cities. Still within research, we have the research, innovation and development, where we focus on creating new discoveries, looking at what are our products, what are our processes, how can we improve our output, and the like. So we should look at how we can benefit on that area, on discoveries, just bringing out the points clearly. And then on the aspect of on research, we need to focus more on what are these indicators of performance for the cities and communities. What are these indicators that we need to focus on? We have the indicators such as the Gini coefficient, the consumer satisfaction index, the housing price index, which is also very important. We also need to look at the transport accessibility and mobility scores, the one that has been focused more in this discussion. We also need to look at the environmental degradation indicators. That includes the issues to do with level of carbon emissions, deforestation, and the like. So what can we do in terms of all this information? We can categorize this information in terms of research, focusing on economic aspects. What can we do in terms of economic aspects? We realize that land is scarce. We have realized that we cannot increase land. We have realized that some resources are scarce. We cannot increase the resources. What we need to do is now enhance or produce our goods, realizing that the resources are scarce, and maybe try to realize that when we are producing things, the land is also scarce. And then another aspect that we need to look at is the social aspects. When we're looking at the social aspect in research, we need to focus on the social inclusivity, such that we're not leaving our brothers behind. We need to be on board with everyone when we are moving forward in terms of this sustainable cities and communities. We also need to look at the quality of life. We all need to have that equal quality of life. And then in terms of environmental also, we also need to look at how much are we mitigating, how much are we emitting. On that also we should be considerate in terms of the environment. And then on the political economy, as we forge forward, we also need to look at what can we do? Who are the people who are pushing the policies forward? Who are obstructing these policies backwards? So we need to look at who are the actors, who are the actors who actually influence policy, and what are their interests too. The government, as I said before, has done a lot, and the role of the government basically is into four functions. The first function is to provide sound legal, policy, and regulatory framework. The second point is on planning and budgeting. The third point is in coordination and implementation. And the last point is on regulation. So if the government can provide good policies,